In the long sweep of prehistory, before modern humans came to dominate every continent, the Earth was a patchwork of human species, each adapted to a unique corner of the world, each carrying its own story of survival, innovation, and eventual disappearance. And it is only by stepping back into that distant, shadowed landscape that we begin to understand how profoundly different the world once was. We were never alone, and our ancestors were not the inevitable winners of a brutal evolutionary contest, but merely one branch among many, navigating a planet filled with predators, climate swings, natural disasters, and rival hominin species equally capable, intelligent, and determined to survive. Imagine the world 1 million years ago. Africa's savannas filled with colossal elephants, giant hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and towering predators that could tear any human to pieces in seconds, while scattered among the grasslands moved early Homo erectus, lean, long-legged, fire-using travelers equipped with stone tools and the first hints of planning and coordination, the pioneers who would carry humanity's spark out of Africa and into Eurasia. Far to the north, Europe was home to the ancestors of Neanderthals, a lineage that endured unimaginable cold for hundreds of thousands of years, evolving short, powerful bodies, immense strength, and an intelligence suited to the rigors of Ice Age survival. Their lives were shaped by glacial cycles, shifting forests, and megafauna hunts that demanded cooperation, strategy, and tools of great precision. These early Neanderthals were not brutish cavemen, but expert hunters who crafted wooden spears, stone blades, birch bark adhesives, and intricate tools that required controlled fire and chemical knowledge. And as modern research has revealed, they painted cave walls, carved symbolic objects, plucked eagle claws as ornaments, and cared for their elderly and injured with a tenderness that reflects a profound social world. Yet even as they perfected their craft in Europe's frozen valleys, other human species thrived in Asia, each shaped by its own ecological pressures. In the harsh altitudes of Siberia existed the Denisovans, a ghostly population known only from tiny fragments of bone and tooth, yet whose genetic legacy survives today across Oceania and Tibet, where their DNA grants modern people the ability to breathe thin mountain air with ease. Like the Neanderthals, they interbred with our ancestors, leaving behind traces that reveal just how interconnected the ancient world truly was. Moving southeast, the islands of Wallacea, today's Indonesia and Philippines, were home to evolutionary marvels that defy expectation, such as Homo floresiensis, a species scarcely a meter tall with a brain no larger than a grapefruit, yet possessing sophisticated stone tools, organized hunting, and the ability to survive among Komodo dragons and pygmy elephants. Far from being primitive, they represent a remarkable evolutionary adaptation known as island dwarfism, where isolation crafts new forms of life in unexpected ways. On nearby Luzon, scientists uncovered the remains of Homo luzonensis, with curved fingers and toes hinting at a climbing lifestyle, their anatomy blending primitive and modern traits in a way that challenges the neat, linear diagrams found in old textbooks. Both species survived until the same window of time that modern humans swept through their islands, raising haunting questions about how our arrival may have sealed their fate. But the story grows stranger still when we turn toward East Asia, where fossils like the red deer cave people and the long-limbed specimens from China present anatomies unlike any known species. Faces with a mix of archaic and modern traits, skulls unusually thick or rounded, jaws robust yet lacking chins. Humans who lived until the end of the last ice age, long after Homo sapiens had begun shaping agriculture and permanent settlements elsewhere, suggesting that the Asian continent hosted a far more diverse set of hominin populations than once believed. And beneath all this visible evidence lies the invisible, genetic signatures woven into the DNA of living African groups, pointing to the existence of a completely unknown ghost lineage, an ancient hominin population that interbred with the ancestors of several modern African groups, yet left behind no fossils, no tools, and no trace in the archaeological record, existing for now only as a whisper encoded in our biology. This discovery reshapes our picture of Africa's past, revealing that the continent was not a simple cradle of progress, but a mosaic of interlinked human lineages whose interactions drove evolution forward. All these species, Neanderthals, Denisovans, hobbits, Lucerne humans, the mysterious Asian populations, the ghost lineages of Africa, coexisted with early Homo sapiens, sometimes for tens of thousands of years, encountering one another in mountains, forests, coastlines, and vast plains where competition for food, territory, and mates may have been intense, complex, and often tragic. When Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa around 70,000 years ago, they were not stepping into an empty world, but into territories already claimed by others who knew their land intimately, species who had weathered ice ages, crafted technologies adapted to their environments, and built cultural traditions as rich and nuanced as our own. And yet, over time, one by one, they vanished. Some through climatic shifts that shrank their habitats or altered food availability. Some through population bottlenecks they could not recover from. Some perhaps through direct conflict or competition with the newly arrived Homo sapiens, who brought with them new hunting strategies, more efficient tools, broader social networks, and the ability to adapt quickly to unfamiliar landscapes. Others may have disappeared not through death, but through absorption, their identities dissolving into ours through interbreeding that blurred the boundaries between species, leaving echoes in our genomes even as their cultures faded from the earth. By the time the last ice age ended, the world of many humans had collapsed into the world of one, and the extraordinary diversity that once characterized our genus had dwindled to a single surviving branch, us, carrying in our bodies the remnants of all those lost cousins whose triumphs and tragedies remain etched not in memory, but in DNA. But their disappearance was not an abrupt extinction event, but a slow, uneven, region-by-region fading, a process shaped by ecological pressures, migration patterns, disease exchanges, cultural interactions, and the growing ability of Homo sapiens to innovate rapidly, adapt socially, and form networks that stretched across enormous distances. Their absence today leaves behind not emptiness, but the quiet sense of an unfinished story, a realization that the human journey was never a solitary path, but a braided river of species flowing together, diverging, merging, and disappearing, all contributing to the legacy that modern humans now carry forward, often unknowingly, into a world they did not build alone. As the world of many humans narrowed into the world of one, the story of our species did not stabilize, but accelerated. For once Homo sapiens occupied the stage alone, the forces that had shaped our evolution for millions of years continued to echo through our behavior, our technology, and the fragile balance between intelligence and survival that defines us to this day. And to understand how we became the planet's undisputed superpredator, we must return to a time when our ancestors still lived close to the edge of extinction, a time when the most important technologies in human history were being forged not in metal or machinery, but in firelight, stone, wood, and the remarkable ability to imagine what could be built from them. The mastery of fire, one of the most pivotal developments in human evolution, was not a single moment, but a long, painstaking learning process that shaped our bodies, our brains, and the social rhythms that still structure our lives. Controlled fire softened tough roots, detoxified plants, hardened wooden spear tips, kept predators at bay, extended waking hours into the night, and created the warmth that allowed humans to survive in climates far beyond their natural range. Around the hearth, early humans shared stories, exchanged knowledge, bonded, cooperated, and formed the first communal spaces in history, transforming fire into a catalyst for culture itself. Yet fire alone could not turn a vulnerable primate into a top predator. The key lead came with weapons that allowed humans to kill from a distance, an evolutionary shortcut that neutralized our physical weakness and placed strategy above strength. The earliest stone-tipped spears appear more than 300,000 years ago, crafted with extraordinary precision, long wooden shafts, shaved smooth, fitted with carefully shaped flakes of flint or obsidian, secured by plant fibers and adhesives made from heated resins and tree bark, each step requiring knowledge transferred across generations. Such tools were not primitive improvisations, but the result of engineering thought, trial and error experimentation, and an intuitive grasp of physics long before formal science existed. These weapons allowed early humans to take on large prey such as horses, aurochs, mammoths, and rhinoceroses, animals that would have been unthinkable targets without teamwork, planning, and weaponry capable of delivering lethal force. The next great leap came in the form of the spear thrower, or atlal, a deceptively simple wooden lever that extended the human arm and multiplied throwing power, allowing hunters to launch spears that up to 150 kilometers per hour with deadly accuracy. This innovation changed the balance between humans and predators forever, elevating our ancestors from opportunistic scavengers to strategic hunters capable of competing with and ultimately displacing hyenas, lions, saber-tooths, and other apex carnivores across vast territories. Archaeological evidence reveals that humans did not simply adapt to new environments, but transformed them, burning forests to flush out game, coordinating group hunts that drove herds over cliffs, establishing seasonal camps that signaled a deeper understanding of landscape and timing. Every technological step strengthened social bonds. Cooperation became a survival strategy as important as any tool, and groups that communicated well, shared food, taught skills, and protected one another outlived those that did not. This feedback loop between intelligence, cooperation, and technology helped our ancestors weather ice ages, droughts, and migrations that killed off many species less adaptable than ours. And with sharper minds came sharper tools, blades napped with astonishing delicacy, composite weapons using multiple materials, bone and antler technologies, fishing harpoons, nets, traps, grinding stones, and eventually the earliest hints of clothing tailored to fit the body, stitched with needles made from bone. Each innovation pushed humans further away from the biological limitations that constrained every other species, creating a new kind of evolutionary niche, one defined not by muscle or tooth or claw, but by the ability to reshape the environment through ingenuity. Yet the same brilliance that allowed humans to thrive also carried consequences. For as we expanded outward, we encountered ecosystems finely tuned to balance and megafauna unprepared for the arrival of a predator capable of long-range killing. Across Australia, the Americas, and island chains from the Mediterranean to the Pacific, waves of extinctions followed in the wake of human arrival, suggesting that our dominance came not from harmony with nature, but from the relentless application of technology in ways the natural world had never faced before. This pattern is seen most clearly in the late Pleistocene, when humans armed with fire, spears, atlals, and coordinated hunting strategies entered new continents and rapidly reshaped the biosphere, eliminating giant ground sloths, diprotodons, mammoths, mastodons, giant kangaroos, and countless other species within centuries. These extinctions echo the earlier disappearance of Neanderthals, Denisovans, and other hominins, creating a haunting symmetry in which both our closest relatives and the largest animals of every region vanished soon after encountering the expanding populations of Homo sapiens. Though the exact proportions of climate pressure, competition, and disease undoubtedly varied from case to case. As humans settled further into their role as global apex predators, cultural complexity blossomed. Symbolic art flourished in caves from France to Indonesia,
Rituals marked important moments in life and death, and knowledge began to accumulate in ways that allowed each generation to start from a higher baseline than the last. By the time the last ice age waned and new landscapes emerged from melting glaciers, humans had already become the most adaptable species on Earth, armed with technologies that extended the reach of the body, expanded the capacity of the mind, and amplified the power of cooperation to levels unmatched in the animal kingdom. The first technology boom was not a chapter, but a long crescendo. Hundreds of thousands of years of experimentation, failure, insight, and teaching that laid the foundation for every later invention, from pottery to metalworking to agriculture and beyond. But its most important legacy lies not in any single tool, but in the mindset it cultivated, the belief that problems could be solved, environments could be mastered, and the future could be shaped by human hands. This way of thinking, forged in the harsh conditions of prehistory, is what ultimately distinguishes Homo sapiens from every species that came before and every species that stands beside us today. It is the inheritance that allowed us to cross oceans, build civilizations, map the stars, split the atom, and now reshape the climate and landscapes of an entire planet. And as we look back into the deep past, into the firelit camps and windswept plains where the first sparks of technology glowed, we begin to understand that the story of human domination is not merely a tale of tools, but a chronicle of imagination, cooperation, and the unyielding drive to survive, innovate, and push beyond the boundaries of what once seemed possible. Even now, in a world defined by satellites, skyscrapers, global networks, and digital realms, the echoes of that ancient technological awakening remain with us, in the rhythms of our social lives, in our hunger for innovation, in the ways we solve problems and reshape our surroundings, and in the quiet but enduring truth that our greatest power has always come not from our bodies, but from our minds. The early humans who struck sparks from stone, who crafted spears and hurled them into the hides of animals 10 times their size, who tamed fire and used it to see into the night, set in motion the trajectory that would carry their descendants into every corner of the earth. And though their names are lost and their cultures vanished, the world they created lives on in us, in every tool we hold, every system we build, every challenge we overcome, a reminder that long before civilization rose, long before cities, temples, or writing, humanity's first revolution was the revolution of survival, ignited by fire, sharpened by stone, and carried forward by the boundless capacity of the human mind.